There is a wooden container sitting in the National Museum of Ireland right now. Inside it is butter, not a fossil, not a residue, not a trace. Butter, recovered from an Irish peat bog, over 5,000 years old, chemically preserved, not recommended for consumption, but structurally intact beyond anything the modern cold chain produces. While the butter in your refrigerator will spoil in 3 weeks, that is not a historical curiosity. That is evidence. Evidence that a preservation system existed requiring no electricity, no refrigeration, no industrial infrastructure of any kind, that outperformed everything the modern dairy industry has built on the single metric that matters most to your food bill and your energy bill simultaneously. And the industry that replaced it understood exactly what it was removing. It removed it anyway, because a household that preserves butter in a bog is not a profitable customer. A household dependent on continuous refrigeration, purchasing dairy products with a 3-week shelf life on a continuous repurchase cycle is. Subscribe to this channel right now before we go further. What you are about to watch has a paper trail, named decisions, documented archaeological evidence, and when someone tells you this is exaggeration, you will be able to tell them exactly which institution holds the 5,000-year-old butter and exactly which decade the industry replaced the system that preserved it. Bog butter is not an accident of history. It is not ancient people carelessly dropping their food supply into a swamp and forgetting where they left it. Over 270 individual bog butter finds have been recovered from Irish and Scottish peat bogs. 270, many wrapped carefully in wooden containers, others sealed in animal bladders. Each one placed deliberately, each one a calculated act of long-term food preservation by people who understood something about their landscape that the modern food industry has spent decades making commercially irrelevant. They understood that the bog was a refrigerator, a better refrigerator for long-term storage, one that required no energy to run, no maintenance to sustain, no repurchase cycle to feed, just the land itself working silently, preserving everything placed inside it. Among the largest single bog butter finds ever recorded weighed over 35 kilograms. 35 kilograms of butter, preserved without a single watt of electricity for thousands of years. Your refrigerator has been running continuously since before you woke up this morning, and the butter inside it expires in 3 weeks. Here is the specific chemistry that made bog preservation work, and why it is more sophisticated than anything the modern dairy industry has replaced it with. Peat bogs are not simply wet ground. They are a specific biological environment built over thousands of years by a single plant, sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss releases a compound called sphagnum as it decomposes. Sphagnum binds nitrogen. Specifically, it binds the nitrogen compounds that bacteria require to reproduce. Without available nitrogen, bacterial growth stops. Decomposition stops. Everything placed in a sphagnum peat bog enters a biological pause. Simultaneously, the bog environment is anaerobic, almost no oxygen. Oxidation, the process that turns your butter rancid on the kitchen counter, cannot occur without oxygen. The bog eliminates it entirely. The water temperature in a peat bog stays consistently cold year-round. Cold temperatures slow every chemical process that causes organic matter to degrade. And the pH of a peat bog is acidic, between 3 and 4 on the pH scale. Most bacteria cannot survive in that acidity, the ones that cause food spoilage least of all. Sphagnum binding nitrogen, anaerobic environment eliminating oxidation, consistent cold temperature slowing degradation, high acidity preventing bacterial survival. 4 independent preservation mechanisms working simultaneously, requiring no energy input, no industrial process, no continuous maintenance. Chemical analysis of recovered bog butter specimens by researchers at University College Dublin and the National Museum of Ireland confirmed significant preservation of fat compound structure across thousands of years. Medieval Irish households placing butter into bogs were not practicing primitive food storage. They were deploying a four-mechanism preservation system of documented sophistication that modern food science has spent decades analyzing and has never replicated in a product that costs nothing to run. This is the moment in this video where this channel asks you to subscribe to this channel, because what you are watching is the pattern this channel exists to document, one replaced system at a time. A zero-energy preservation technology of documented archaeological effectiveness replaced with a continuous energy consumption dependency that generates permanent revenue for two separate industries simultaneously. Subscribe to this channel now so you are present when the next one is uncovered. Here is who needed bog butter to become irrelevant, and what they built on the ruins of its irrelevance. The modern dairy industry is not built on producing the best possible dairy product. It is built on producing dairy products with the shortest commercially viable shelf life, distributed through a cold chain infrastructure that requires continuous energy consumption at every stage, from production to your refrigerator. That cold chain is not a neutral technological development, it is a commercial architecture. Every stage of it generates revenue for a specific industry. The refrigeration units in dairy processing facilities, the refrigerated trucks in the distribution network, the supermarket cold storage systems, the domestic refrigerator running continuously in your kitchen, the utility company supplying the electricity that runs every one of those systems without stopping. A household preserving butter through traditional long-term storage methods exits that commercial architecture entirely. No refrigerated distribution, no supermarket cold storage, no domestic refrigerator running continuously, no utility bill accumulating for the energy it consumes. The modern dairy industry did not replace bog preservation because refrigeration produced a better long-term preservation result. Chemically preserved 5,000-year-old butter sitting in a museum in Dublin answers that comparison without requiring a single additional argument. What the modern system offered was not better preservation, it was more convenient preservation. Convenience that required continuous energy input, continuous product repurchase, continuous commercial dependency. Commercial processing decisions in industrial dairy, including pasteurization and homogenization, altered the fat structure and biological complexity of butter in ways that prioritized distribution efficiency and repurchase frequency. The fat profile of traditionally produced unprocessed butter from grass-fed animals is documented in nutritional research to differ significantly from industrially processed commercial butter in ways that matter to the human body. Every party in that commercial chain benefited from bog preservation becoming culturally irrelevant, not because the bog stopped working, because working indefinitely without commercial infrastructure is the most commercially inconvenient thing a food preservation system can do. Let's talk about what that replacement costs you right now, not in an Irish bog 5,000 years ago, in your kitchen, this week, this energy bill, this grocery run. Your refrigerator is among the largest continuous energy consumers in the average household, running every hour of every day, every month of every year for as long as you occupy that home. It is not running because refrigeration is the most effective long-term preservation technology ever developed. It is running because the commercial infrastructure built around continuous refrigeration dependency made traditional preservation methods culturally obsolete within a few generations before the performance comparison your eyes are making right now was ever given a public platform. The butter in your refrigerator was churned from homogenized, pasteurized, industrially processed milk. Its biological complexity has been reduced. Its shelf life has been calibrated not to maximum preservation, but to a repurchase frequency that keeps you returning to the dairy aisle on a schedule the industry designed. The butter medieval Irish households placed in bogs came from grass-fed animals, unprocessed, unaltered, biologically complete, preserved by a landscape that asked nothing in return. You are not getting a better product from your refrigerator. You are getting a more convenient product on a more profitable repurchase cycle, packaged as progress. Here is the honest question this video ends with, not the prepared answer, the real one. Open your refrigerator right now. Look at the expiry date. 3 weeks, perhaps 4. 5,000-year-old butter sits in a museum in Ireland, chemically preserved by nothing more than a bog and the moss that grew in it. The system that produced that result was replaced not because it failed, but because it succeeded without generating a single recurring revenue stream for a single commercial interest. How much is your electricity bill this month? How many times have you bought butter in the last year? Drop those 2 numbers in the comments right now, not to impress anyone, not to complain, because those 2 numbers together represent the monthly and annual cost of a commercial transition that converted a zero-energy preservation system into a continuous consumption dependency, and the industries that made that transition are counting on you never putting those 2 numbers next to a 5,000-year-old wooden container of intact butter and asking the question this video just asked. If you're gaining value from this video, I need you to give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm to share this video to more people. Now back to our story. The bog butter story is not isolated. Replace the independent system, make it culturally obsolete, build a commercial infrastructure around the dependent alternative, then collect revenue from every household at every stage of the dependency chain forever. That pattern does not stop with butter. It runs through every food, every preservation method, every technology this channel examines. The evidence for each replacement exists. The commercial logic is identical every time, and the performance gap between what was replaced and what replaced it is sitting in a museum in Dublin waiting for anyone willing to make the comparison. Subscribe to this channel now and turn on your notification bell before you move on, because this channel is not finished. There are foods in your kitchen, preservation methods your ancestors relied on, and systems the modern industrial world made obsolete not because they stopped working, but because they worked too well without commercial infrastructure. This channel documents them one at a time, with evidence, with the commercial paper trail, with the specific decisions those industries are counting on you never examining. The people who subscribe to this channel right now will be there for every one. Do not leave without subscribing to this channel. This is the channel they are counting on you never finding. Medieval Irish households preserved butter for thousands of years using nothing but the land beneath their feet. The industry that replaced that system needed one thing theirs never did: a customer. Now you know what was buried. The question is what you do with that knowledge. Stay tuned for more uncoverings. See you in our next video.